few months ago, someone asked me the question, how important is it to you that you're queer? In the moment, my response was, how important is it to you that you're a man? He was baffled. Well, I guess I don't know. I've never known anything different, he said. He got my point, that I, too, have never known anything different, having only ever been me on this journey. Which is to say, I only know my experience of queerness, of identity, of the evolving person I am becoming. It's not that I have always known myself to be queer. I think there's harm in that myth that can undermine the exquisite unfolding nature of self we all inhabit. In fact, I haven't always known myself in this way, or at least I didn't have the language to describe the person I was becoming. Spoken word poet Andrea Gibson wrote, "There is so much kindness in constantly asking, 'Who are you now?' There is so much love in allowing people to be continually new to us. To love someone isn't so much to know them as it is to know their never-ending becoming." This, I think, embraces what I would call a queering of identity, which is something that will benefit all of us. Now, I'm not saying that we're all queer or that you need to embrace the queer part of you, but will we not all benefit when binaries and boxes are broken open to the full spectrum of what it means to be human? How could we not all benefit from co-creation of love and family and community? How could we not all benefit from an expansion of what is possible? When I got into seminary, one of the ways I marked the occasion was by getting part of my theology tattooed on my wrists. I couldn't name it that way at the time. At the time, I just knew this quote was what felt most true. It felt like part of me somehow, and also like a force that was molding me and guiding me to be the person I wanted to be. The tattoo is just two words, actions on my left wrist and truth on my right. The full quote is a line in the poem Feminist or Womanist by spoken word poet Stacey Ann Chin. She writes, "I believe God is that place between belief and what you name it. I believe holy is what you do when there is nothing between your actions and the truth. I believe holy is what you do when there is nothing between your actions and the truth." My theology deconstructs and reconstructs me and the world so that holy is a verb. I am a queer, white, half-Jewish woman. My theology is born to deconstruct and reconstruct the structures and boundaries. My theology is to center the margins, to bring the background to the foreground, to shed light on what we do not hear or see, and to act in ways that ground new ways of being through our actions and our truth. My theology is one I live with my body, this imperfect, queer, female body, and I know it to be good. My theology lives in our collective actions that holy the world. It lives in the ways we dismantle and rebuild, in the ways we queer the world. My theology is alive in my body, and she is powerful. Queer is a word with a complicated history, and although I can't see you, I feel fairly certain that at least a few of you might be whispering, "I thought we weren't supposed to say that word." Others of you might remember times when that word was used in a way that was harmful, and it may still hold a sting for you. The word still holds plenty of pain alongside the empowerment some find within it. It was during the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s and early 1990s that the word queer started to take hold in activist circles as both a positive word of identity and a process of questioning the concept of what was normal. When we queer ourselves and our identity, that is, when we reject the concept of normal, when we expand beyond what is traditional and known, when we embrace the weird, the different, then we get to know ourselves and our world in new ways. We can heal ourselves and our world in new ways. At its heart, queerness is about being me, about being you, about being us fully without the constraints of normal or should or ought to. Andrea Gibson urged us to ask the question, who are you now? Who are you now? That question I was asked about the importance of my queerness was posed to me months ago, but it continues to turn in my mind. I wish I had been able to generate a better answer. It's a question that feels like if I think about it long enough, there must be a concrete answer. Like somehow, if I think about it right, I can quantify the importance of my queerness in a way that can be understood. When we get down to it, though, sometimes it feels like I don't get to decide the importance of my queerness. Politicians decide the importance when they restrict my rights or attempt to legislate my body and my love. Religious institutions decide the importance. Family decides the importance. Even allies deem the importance of my queerness when they are too loud with their support at times when I just want to exist as me, as Laura, a complex being with myriad identities who also just likes to talk about knitting and kayaking and my pet rat named Ginsburg. Of course, what his question was really asking is how important it is that I wear my identity, that I embody my identity. He was actually asking, how important is it to you that other people know you're queer? How important is it to you that you are queer out loud? I think I could veer here into statistics about suicide rates and abuse and homelessness. I could talk about the number of trans people and particularly trans women of color killed around the world each year. If you don't know those statistics, I encourage you to look them up. But what's more important to me is seeing the lives of people who are queer. Gabby Rivera is a queer Puerto Rican author I highly recommend. She wrote the young adult novel Juliet Takes a Breath and also wrote the series America about new Marvel superhero America Chavez, Marvel's first queer Latina superhero. In an interview, Rivera was asked, why do you feel so passionate about your own identities as a queer Puerto Rican woman? What do you hope writing about your identities will accomplish? In other words, Gabby Rivera, how important is your queerness? How important are your identities to you? Rivera, though, answered much more articulately than I did when asked a similar question. She says, I look at queerness as this majestic gift that saved my life, because it gave me the insight to realize that the universe is mine to recreate and reimagine as I see fit. And so in a world that tells you what kind of girl you should be, that you should have a specific gender, in a world that tells you that you are not valuable because of your skin or because of your ability, my queerness and my ethnicity, my Puerto Ricanness, my chubbiness, are all things that dictate that I get to do whatever I want. I get to live in the world that I create, and your rules don't apply to me. Everything I do is going to be to fight back and disrupt all of that. I write things that make me feel safe and seen. I get to live in the world that I create, she says, and your rules don't apply to me. A few weeks ago, I went to my local Goodwill. It was a normal Saturday, so I had pulled on a pair of jeans and the first t-shirt I found in my drawer, which happened to be a gray one that said "Love is love" in rainbow letters. And I had a mask, handmade for me by my friend Lisa, that was covered in rainbows. As I stood looking at the skirts, I saw a teenager and their mother nearby. Soon the mother went elsewhere in the store, but the teen kind of hovered and circled around where I was standing. They were tall and slender, wearing super long, bulky cargo pants and a long sleeve shirt that hung past their fingertips. Their hair was dyed black, shaved on one side and long and silky on the other. They had a nervous energy as they glanced around, eyeing me, slowly edging closer as they played with the long strands of black hair hanging in their face. "Hey," they said finally. "Hey there," I said, smiling. "I like your mask," they said. Their cheeks turned pink, as though they were surprised in their boldness speaking to a stranger. "Oh, thanks," I said. "My friend made it for me. I love this fabric. We all need more rainbows in our lives, don't we?" They nodded and continued to stand close. "What do you think of this skirt?" I asked, holding up one of the two in my hands. They nodded rapidly, cheeks turning pinker than ever, eyes darting everywhere, running their hands through their hair. "It's really cute," they said. "There's some cute stuff here today," I commented, motioning down the aisle to the skirts of their size. They nodded and then disappeared. A few minutes later, I glanced down the road to see them holding a pale blue shimmering skirt that looked like a mermaid's tail. They caught my eye nervously, and I smiled before returning to my browsing. I wished them good luck as I walked away, but I don't think they heard me. They were mesmerized by the shimmer of the mermaid skirt, running their fingers over it and holding it up to the light. The more I think about it, the more I think that teen is my answer. The teen with the mermaid skirt. They're how I can answer the question of the importance of my queerness. That my body could signal safety to a teen in Goodwill is the only answer I can ever give in quantifying the importance of my queerness. It is as important as that teen's life, as their necessity in our world. My queerness is as simple as a rainbow mask and as complex as their magic. The importance of embodying my identity in the way that feels right to me, in the way I feel most at home in my body, is as important for me as my survival and my becoming. Queerness is not just defined by who I love. It is, as Gabby Rivera said, about realizing that the universe is mine to recreate and reimagine myself as I see fit. In the universe I create, the teen in the Goodwill buys the blue skirt. They wear it proudly, publicly, beautifully, handsomely, and they feel empowered as themselves, beyond gendered expressions and expectations, beyond societal pressures. In the universe I create, we invite each other constantly into new ways of becoming. We question what we know of ourselves and the world. We challenge assumptions of ourselves and others. We do not exist in boxes or in binaries, but embrace the vastness and the power of us. In the universe I create, we create worlds where we all feel safe and seen. In the universe I create, holy is a verb, an action, a queering. We holy ourselves. We holy each other in all of our vastness and the ways we cannot be contained. We queerly holy the world. May it be so. Amen.